You have this weird experience where people feel better after talking to you, and you didn't even do anything. You didn't give a motivational speech. You didn't prescribe crystals. You didn't fix them. You literally just existed near them, and now they're texting you at 2:11 a.m. like, I don't know why I'm telling you this, but... And if you're an INFJ, you already know what I'm talking about. Because you're not just empathetic. You're not just a good listener. In a Carl Jung kind of way, you're an accidental therapist, a walking mirror, a gentle lie detector, an emotional MRI with legs, which sounds cool, until you realize it comes with side effects. Sudden confessions, weird attachments, people who don't open up to anyone, opening up to you in the bread aisle. And the occasional narcissist showing up like a mosquito who can smell kindness from 3 neighborhoods away. And here's the part nobody warns you about. Sometimes, you don't even feel like you're doing anything special. You're just asking normal questions. You're just being polite. You're just existing with your default face, which is apparently, tell me what happened in your childhood. Meanwhile, the other person is having a full internal documentary montage. Sad piano music, flashbacks, a voiceover like, in this moment, I realized I've been emotionally unavailable since 2009. And you're standing there like, so, do you want oat milk or regular? That's why this topic goes viral every time someone touches it, because it's not a cute personality trait. It's a pattern. It's a repeatable phenomenon. And Jung would say this isn't magic. It's psychology. It's the unconscious reacting to the kind of presence you carry. Because when you're an INFJ, you don't just hear people, you pick up people. You sense what they're avoiding. You notice the emotional weather before it rains. You catch the contradiction between the smile and the tension in the jaw. And people feel that sometimes before you even say a word. So this is for you, the INFJ who keeps healing people without trying. And I'm gonna say the quiet parts out loud. Not the cliche stuff, the real signs, the controversial ones, the ones that make people argue in the comments because it hits a little too close. And before we start, this isn't diagnose your friends content. This is understand what keeps happening to you content, because you're not imagining it. If anything, you've probably been minimizing it like, no, I'm not deep, I'm just tired. But Jung would absolutely have opinions about why people treat you like a safe place and a mirror and sometimes a threat. So if you've ever had someone dump their life story on you and then say, wow, I feel so much better, while you're thinking, I literally just blinked twice and nodded, you're in the right place. All right, let's dive right in. First up, you create numinous moments by accident. You have conversations that don't feel like conversations. They feel like an event, like you and this person are just casually talking. And then suddenly the air gets heavier, their voice gets quieter, their eyes get shiny, and you can literally feel the moment shift into something significant. They hit you with, I don't know why I'm telling you this, or I've never said this out loud, and you're standing there thinking, I asked one normal question. Why are we summoning your entire subconscious right now? That's the INFJ effect. Not because you're mysterious in a TikTok way, but because you carry a kind of psychological gravity. You listen like you actually mean it. You don't rush to fix. You don't interrupt to perform empathy. You don't do the fake, wow, that's crazy thing. Your attention is clean. And when someone feels that level of attention, their nervous system drops its guard, the persona stops auditioning, and the real person steps forward like, okay, we're doing this today. Carl Jung would call this NUMINOUS, a moment that feels powerful, charged, almost sacred. And here's the key. The moment doesn't feel sacred because you said something magical. It feels sacred because something unconscious just became conscious. That's what creates the electricity. That's why people walk away from talking to you like they just had a spiritual awakening in a parking lot. It's not romance, it's not destiny. It's their inner truth finally getting oxygen, and their psyche is reacting like, oh my God, we've been holding this in for years. And this is where it gets funny, because you're not even trying. You'll be thinking about your to-do list, your groceries, the email you forgot to answer, and the other person is having a full cinematic montage of their childhood with sad piano music. You're like, should I get oat milk or regular? And they're like, in this moment, I realized I've been emotionally unavailable since 2011. That's the kind of accidental therapist energy you carry. But let's make it slightly more controversial. Not everyone loves numinous moments. Some people crave them because it feels like meaning, depth, salvation. Other people get terrified because numinous moments feel like being seen. And being seen feels like losing control. So they might call you special or intense or different, but what they really mean is your presence makes it harder for them to hide from themselves. And once you've felt that kind of truth, even for a second, you can't unfeel it. So if people keep saying conversations with you feel faded or spiritual or weirdly deep, don't get lost in the fantasy. The Jungian reality is sharper. Your presence gives their unconscious a microphone, and sometimes it says things their conscious mind was not ready to hear. And next up, you become a confessional booth for shame. Sign: people reveal taboo thoughts to you, then act weird after. Jung angle: you activate shadow material. Once it's spoken, they feel exposed and may project guilt back onto you. You have this thing where people tell you what they were never going to tell anyone. Not the cute stuff like I overthink. I mean the taboo stuff. The please don't judge me stuff. The kind of confession that lands on you like an unexpected email attachment titled, "My deepest insecurity, final V7. And you're just standing there like, okay, noted. Would you like a napkin with that? The reason it happens is simple and unfair. Your face says safe. Your energy says container. You don't react like most people react. You don't do the dramatic gasp. You don't punish them with awkward silence. You don't turn their vulnerability into entertainment. You just stay calm, and that calm quietly tells their nervous system, you can be real here. So their persona stops performing, and the real person slips out like, finally, someone who won't throw tomatoes at me. Jung would call what's coming out their shadow. The shadow is everything they learn to hide, to be accepted. Anger, envy, obsession, shame, the messy human parts. And when you feel non-judgmental, their unconscious basically goes, oh good, we found a safe exit. And it starts releasing content they've been holding down for years. That's why they feel better after talking to you. Not because you fixed them, but because the hidden thing got AIR. But then comes the twist you've definitely seen. After they confess, they don't always thank you. Sometimes they act weird. They avoid you, get cold, ghost you, or suddenly act irritated like you committed a crime by listening too well. That's projection. Once the shadow is exposed, shame shows up like a security guard yelling, who approved this? And instead of sitting with their own discomfort, their psyche tries to offload it. So it tosses the guilt onto you, because you were there when the mask slipped. So, if someone confesses to you and then treats you like the problem, remember, you didn't create their shadow. You just witnessed it. And for some people, being witnessed feels like freedom. For others, it feels like getting caught. And next, you can feel when someone's inner child takes over. Sign: you notice sudden voice shifts, posture changes, teenage reactions from adults. Jung angle: that's a complex takeover. Jung described how complexes can temporarily run the personality. You have this strange talent where you can tell when you're no longer talking to the adult in front of you. 1 second they're calm, logical, paying taxes, acting normal. Next second, their tone shifts, their face changes, their body tightens, and suddenly You're in a conversation with someone who feels 13. Not literally, but energetically. The inner child grabs the microphone and starts speaking in full emotional surround sound. And you notice it fast. Because you don't just listen to words, you track the WHO behind the words. You catch those micro changes like you're watching a documentary, and the narrator goes, "And here, we observe the moment the wound takes control." It's the adult saying, "I'm fine," but the eyes screaming, "I'm not fine." It's the calm sentence with the nervous system panic underneath. Jung's explanation is actually brutal. He said, complexes can act like mini personalities. They're emotional clusters built around old pain, rejection, humiliation, abandonment, whatever. And when something triggers that old wound, the complex can hijack the whole system. The adult gets pushed to the back seat, and the hurt part takes the wheel, like it's playing Mario Kart at 3 a.m. with no supervision. That's why you'll see grown adults react like teenagers. Sudden defensiveness, overreaction, dramatic withdrawal. Fine, do whatever you want. Energy. And you're sitting there thinking, this isn't about what I said. This is about what this reminds you of. You don't even have to say it out loud for them to feel it, because your presence reads the pattern in real time. Here's the controversial piece. Your awareness can feel healing to healthy people and threatening to wounded people. Because if you can sense the takeover, you can't be easily manipulated by the performance. You're responding to the wound, not the mask. And that creates two possible outcomes. Some people feel relieved, like, oh my God, someone finally understands what's happening inside me. Other people feel exposed and get angry because the defense mechanism just got spotted. So if you keep noticing these age shifts in people, you're not imagining it. You're picking up a Jungian reality. Sometimes you're not dealing with a person's character, you're dealing with their complex. And the reason you feel drained after certain conversations is because you weren't talking to an adult. You were holding space for a wounded part that never learned how to self-regulate. And next, you're a magnet for narcissists. And it's not bad luck. Sign, love bombers and energy vampires lock onto you fast. Jung angle. They sense you'll supply mirroring plus meaning. Your depth feeds their emptiness unless you enforce boundaries. You have this frustrating pattern where certain people find you fast. Like they have a radar. They don't gently enter your life, they arrive. Big attention, big emotion, big, I've never met anyone like you. And you're sitting there thinking, we've spoken twice. How are we already in the season finale? This isn't random. And it's not just you attract toxic people because you're nice. From a Jung perspective, what's happening is much sharper. Your presence gives people a sense of meaning. You reflect them back with depth. You notice patterns. You validate feelings. You make their inner world feel important. That kind of mirroring is powerful. For a healthy person, it feels grounding. For a narcissistic person, and it can feel like a drug. Because narcissistic types often don't have stable inner self-worth, so they outsource it. They need someone to reflect value back at them, constantly, like a psychological ring light. And you're basically a deluxe mirror with emotional HD resolution. So they lock on. Love bombers do it with praise and intensity. Energy vampires do it with crisis and neediness. But the goal is the same. Access to your attention, your calm, your meaning-making. Here's the twist you've probably experienced. At first, they act like you're a miracle. Then, the moment you have a boundary, they act like you're a villain. Because the deal in their head was never partnership. It was supply. They didn't come to know you, they came to be regulated by you. They want your empathy without earning your trust, your depth, without respecting your limits, your healing presence, without your humanity. Jung would call part of this projection too. They project onto you the fantasy of the perfect rescuer, the perfect witness, the perfect person who will finally fill the hole inside them. But that hole is not your job. And It's not even fillable from the outside. So, eventually, the projection collapses. And when it collapses, they often flip. Idealize to devalue. Your amazing becomes you're selfish the second you stop being available on demand. So if you're an INFJ and you keep meeting people who rush intimacy, demand emotional access, and act entitled to your energy, that's not bad luck. That's your depth being scented. The solution isn't to become cold. The solution is to treat your presence like it's valuable, because it is. You can be compassionate and still be unavailable to people who only want you as a psychological resource. Boundaries are not cruelty, they're quality control. And next, you can sense when someone is living a borrowed life. Sign. You feel this isn't them, even when they're successful and smiling. Jung angle. Persona-driven living versus individuation. You detect when someone's identity is socially assembled, not internally chosen. You have this unsettling ability to look at someone's perfect life and still feel that quiet signal in your body. Not you. They've got the title, the partner, the highlight reel, the confident laugh, and yet the energy doesn't match. It's like watching a movie with the audio slightly out of sync. Their words say thriving, but their nervous system says surviving. And you're not judging them. You're just picking up incongruence. The micro pauses, the forced brightness, the smile that shows up half a second late. Jung would call this persona domination. The persona is the social mask, the role that gets applause, useful, necessary, but it's not the self. And some people don't just wear the persona. They move in. They become the successful one, the responsible one, the easygoing one, the perfect couple, like it's a full-time job with unpaid overtime. Their identity gets assembled from expectations, approval, status, family scripts, basically a life built from other people's checklists. And you can feel it. Your intuition hears the silent sentence under everything. This is what I'm supposed to want. And here's the funny part. Around you, they start talking like they're trying to convince a courtroom. I love my job. It's amazing. I'm so grateful. And you're like, wow, why does that sound like a hostage note written by LinkedIn? Because your presence accidentally activates individuation. The Jung idea of becoming who you actually are, not who you perform to be. You don't even have to say anything. Your attention pressures the mask. It whispers, okay, but what do you want? So people react in two ways. Some exhale and finally admit, I don't know who I am without the role. And that confession is the beginning of healing. Others get irritated or distant because if they admit the life is borrowed, then they'd have to face the terrifying question, whose life have I been living? And that's not a small question. That's a full identity renovation with emotional dust everywhere. And next, you use symbol, story, and metaphor without realizing. Sign, you naturally explain emotions through images. It feels like drowning. It's like a mask. It's a locked room. Why it's Jungian? Jung worked with symbols and archetypes because they bypass defenses. When you speak in metaphor, you're quietly translating chaos into meaning, and meaning is medicine. You don't describe feelings like a normal person. You don't say, I'm stressed. You say, or, it feels like I'm carrying a backpack full of bricks while everyone else is roller skating. You don't say, I feel disconnected. You say, it's like I'm behind glass watching life happen. People hear you talk and realize, oh, you're not reporting emotions. You're directing a psychological documentary. And the funny part is, You're not trying to be poetic. You're trying to be accurate. Because raw emotion is messy, slippery, hard to hold. So your mind does what INFJ minds do. It turns the feeling into an image, a story, a symbol. It's the fastest way to make something invisible feel real. Like, congratulations, you just turned anxiety into a visual object we can all point at. Very rude. Very helpful. This is exactly why Jung loved symbols. The unconscious doesn't speak in bullet points, it speaks in dreams, archetypes, and metaphor. Symbols bypass the ego's defenses like a VIP pass. If you tell someone you're afraid of intimacy, their persona goes, "No, I'm not." But if you say, "It's like you keep the door half closed so nobody can walk in," their unconscious goes, "Oh, that's me." And that's why people feel calmer after talking to you. You're taking their inner chaos and giving it shape. You're translating their emotional static into meaning. And meaning is medicine, because once someone can name the thing, they can stop being possessed by it. So, yeah. You're not just deep. You're basically a walking symbol translator, like a therapist. Except you didn't ask for this job, and nobody gave you a lunch break. And finally, your healing is mostly who you are, not what you do. Sign, people change around you even when you didn't try to change them. Why it happens? When you live aligned, quiet integrity, depth, self-awareness, you give people permission to be real. That's individuation. Energy. Your authenticity pressures others to stop performing and start integrating. You've seen it happen, and it still confuses you because you will have a conversation that feels normal to you. You didn't deliver a TED Talk. You didn't coach them. You didn't even finish your sentence before they went, "Wait, I just realized something." And later you find out they set a boundary, ended a toxic situation, changed careers, finally went to therapy, or stopped chasing someone who treats them like an option. And you're sitting there like, I literally said, "That makes sense. Am I accidentally licensed?" This is the part people misunderstand about you. Your healing effect is not a technique. It's a presence. And most people walk around in persona mode, performing who they think they're supposed to be. But you show up with this quiet, almost annoying level of honesty. You don't perform interest, you actually pay attention. You don't fake confidence, you have clarity. You don't pretend everything is fine, you respect what's real. And when someone is near that, their nervous system feels the difference. Jung would frame it as individuation energy. When you're living closer to your true self, you unintentionally confront everyone else with the gap between their mask and their self. That doesn't mean you judge them, it means your authenticity acts like a spotlight. Some people feel relief, like, I can stop acting. Others feel exposed, like, why do I suddenly feel fake around this person? So yes, people heal around you, but not because you fix them. They heal because being near you makes it harder to lie to themselves, and somehow you manage to do that while still being kind. Which is honestly unfair, because now you're the emotional Wi-Fi hotspot and everybody wants the password. So, there you have it. Comment which sign hit you the hardest and tell your story. If this felt a little too accurate, hit like, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next Jung-style breakdown.